Hi, I'm Sandy Gluck for Food on 10, and I want to talk about a chef's knife, what it's good for, how to pick one out. This is an 8-inch Santoku chef's knife by Wusthof that we were loaned by A Savings, and it is the perfect size for my hand. That doesn't mean that it would be the perfect size for your hand. This is something, when you are buying a chef's knife, it is an extension of your hand. Think of it as a tool that just extends from your hand. You have to feel comfortable when you use it. So one of the things you want to look for in a chef's knife is it has a nice heel here. What this heel means is that when you work with a chef's knife, you can rock it up and down without your knuckles hitting the work surface. If there were no heel here, when I went to chop something and I was rocking it back and forth, my knuckles would smack into the work surface. So that's one thing you want to look for. This is a Santoku, which means that it has ridges here, and this is especially nice if you're cutting something like cheese or even vegetables that might tend to stick to the knife. These ridges prevent that from happening, so they come off very easily. One thing I'm going to demonstrate right now, which is it's really easy to do, but I think it's one of those things that people get flummoxed about. It's how to chop an onion. So I have an onion here. The first thing I'm going to do is just trim the end here. That's the stem end. I'm just trimming that off, and then that goes away. Here's another little tip. When you are pushing something off on the work surface, use the back of the knife. A lot of people use the blade and that makes it dull faster. Use the back of the knife and then just push it away. So that's what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to cut off this end as well, just a little bit. When I said I was cutting off the stem end, the root end, I did leave the root in place, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to cut this in half now. Okay, you can go over there. And now I'm going to peel it. That you can just do with your hands. You don't need to do with a knife, although some people choose to do it with a knife. You don't have to. So here is the onion, and here is the root end. It's a little bit intact. What that's going to do when I go to chop the onion, it's going to hold it in place. If I had cut that off totally, when I went to cut the onion, it would just fall apart. So the first thing you're going to do is make some horizontal cuts in the onion. So I'm doing just, 2 of them. This will depend on how big you want your dice. This is essentially what I'm doing now. I am dicing this onion. So see, now I've made 3 cuts, and now I'm going to make cuts this way. You'll notice I've formed my hand into a claw. That means that I am holding the onion down, but if my fingers were out like this, I'd be more likely to cut myself. So you make a claw, and then you use that surface right here to lean your knife against. Now I'm going to make some vertical cuts across the onion. Oh, that one's coming undone, but that's all right. Remember, this is cooking, this is not brain surgery, so everything doesn't have to be exactly the same way. Now I turn the onion around, and I'm going to do the same thing, sort of grab it this way, and then work my knife using my knuckles as a guide. I'm going to cut it down. See how that falls off the side of the knife? It's not clinging at all. Now the other thing that I'll show you how to do, so you can really get the idea of how that rocking works, is to peel and chop some garlic. So here are some garlic cloves. Cloves are the individual pieces. A bulb is the whole thing. So these are the cloves, and I'm just going to do 1. Now I'm going to take my knife and give this a good smack with the flat side of the knife. What that does is it loosens the skin. So now I can just peel it really easily. I'll get rid of that. And then I can start slicing. You can really do it without watching what you're doing. As long as you know that your knuckles are there as a guide and your fingers are out of the way, don't let your pinky slip in there. It likes to do that. Then you should be okay. So now it's been sliced. Now I want to chop it finely. Now I'm going to take my knife, hold it this way, and people do this in different ways. Some people grab the tip like this. I like to hold my hand on top of it. So I'm holding it, and now I am rocking it back and forth. So you can see that it's getting finer. I'm just going to keep doing that until it gets to however fine I want it. So I'm going to keep chopping. If I wanted to turn this into a paste, which is something that you'll see in recipes, to make a garlic paste and put it under the skin of some chicken, what I would do is take this, now that it's been sort of finely chopped, sprinkle a little bit of coarse salt over it, also known as kosher salt. It's not the salt that's kosher, it's salt that is used for koshering meat. But they sell it in supermarkets. I've sprinkled a little bit over that. I'm going to chop it some more, and that salt is going to help to break it down. Just going to keep doing that. And then I'm going to take the flat side of my knife and I'm going to work this. So I'm going to mash it. So that's what I'm doing now. You can see that, how that's getting nice and mashed there. That is turning into a paste. You do need that little bit of salt to do it. And we like to use coarse salt. It's just easier to feel. And for something like this, it's really better. Just because it is coarse, it'll work a little bit better. So now I pretty much have a paste. And those are just some of the wonderful things that you can do with a chef's knife. Thank you for watching Food on 10. I'm Sandy Gluck.